I wasn't sleeping. I think I cut out just about everything. I wasn't eating
Yes.
any kind of meat except for like salmon and every now and then chicken and things like that. And I was trying to lose weight because my doctor kept telling me, you probably are experiencing these things, not sleeping and all the other things because of your diet and you need to lose some weight. And so I had cut out everything and I hadn't seen any progress. And so
Right.
I was like, okay, well, let me go to a different doctor. What we're talking about today is what are some things like health habits that in your practice that you've seen kind of contribute to not having that energy, not like the physical energy, the
Right.
emotional energy, the like your moods kind of all over the place. What are some things that we typically do that are contributing to that? And then what are some solutions? for-
So, especially as women, a lot of times our emotions rule our bodies.
Mhm.
So a lot of times it doesn't matter. You can be looking great on the outside. You can actually be highly functioning, working. But if your emotions get out of balance, then all of a sudden you start getting negative thoughts and everything comes into play. So, as what I try to focus on is the obviously the physical, but also the emotional and the spiritual. All three of those
Mhm.
encompass what we do. And if you leave one out, then everything else doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have all three of those factors in place. And with, like, for you, for instance, coming into me, you're the prime example of the people I see, because a lot of times they went a medical route. In my office, I have a nurse practitioner as well, so I'm more integrated in that area.
Mhm.
But I do see where people come in, and now there's this big push to use a medication that starts with an O. I'm not going to put it
Mhm.
down, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But
Mhm.
that we don't know the after effects of that, right? So
Right.
people are ready for, in our society, a quick fix. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon, but you don't know years down the road, what is going to happen. And if they, for some reason, can't afford that medication, what is the backlash of that? So
Mhm.
what I primarily focus on as a foundation to your health is like a program, a health restoration program
Mhm.
called Shape Reclaimed. And Shape Reclaimed is a low inflammatory diet. It's practitioner monitored, and we're using a homeopathic that has some similarities to actually that medication, which is why people don't feel as hungry when they're using it, although it's not a medication. So it's not going to have any of the side effects from that standpoint. And I'm really focusing on helping that person achieve like obtainable goals, like SMART goals.
Mhm.
And I check them every week. And I'm there to kind of, if you remember, like just kind of bounce things off of, just to make sure that you follow through. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times doctors will just say, hey, go, eat better, or go do this, and you're like, okay. And then you're driving out of the doctor's office swinging by like McDonald's or something. so,
Right.
so
Right.
yeah, so it's kind of like you have to have the accountability.
Yep.
So we focus on that. So that's kind of a primary, actually it's a primary part of my practice now, is that shape program, because I offer it throughout the United States, and it's something that can be done remotely. It's a beautiful program.
Mhm.
And it's helped so many people. If your listeners go and Google the olive leaf, you can read the reviews specifically for that program. A lot of those reviews out there for that. And then the next step we want to look at is hydration.
Mhm.
We are so dehydrated. That's why when you go to the hospital, what's the first thing they do? They give you an IV.
IV.
You got to get the IV fluid. So we are chronically dehydrated until it's like too late. And by that time, you're like, oh man, I'm not feeling good. I'm hurting a little bit. And a lot of symptoms that people have are just from being dehydrated.
Mhm.
So I balance out their hydration status, and I use pH, like I get their pH balanced as well. So then we're dealing with those areas. We've got the foundational health restoration program. We've got the person's hydration. I use trace minerals, specific thing, those little sachets that go in the water. Yeah, to kind
Mhm.
of keep the body in a great pH balance, and then also increasing the minerals. So you've got those three factors, and then, or just two factors, and then you add in sleep, because if a person's not sleeping, they're not going to get restoration.
Mhm.
So focusing on making sure those areas are in balance. If you think about it, you're spending a third of your life asleep. So sleep is crucial.
Mhm.
So I kind of, zone in on that. Some people come to me with other issues, like deeper issues, where they have been trying to figure out like what is going on, you know, with their health. And they need to look at like their digestive system. So I do stool testing. I find out what's going on with the microbiome. That's a big keyword that you hear now, microbiome health. If your microbiome is out, your emotions are out because your neurotransmitters are made in your gut. So it's really important to kind of keep that balanced. And that's like your engine, like you're driving a car. You don't keep the engine clean, then everything else kind of falls out of balance. So I love that. And then micronutrient testing is just finding out what are nutrient deficiencies. Why are you feeling tired? It could be that you're so stressed that all your B vitamins are just going out of you and you have no idea. So you're running on empty, and you need to figure out what's out of balance so you can replenish that back in. So it's kind of multifaceted as far as all the different areas. And I really try to personalize it. But the foundation is doing the lifestyle, like health restoration. You have to start with that. You just can't go somewhere and they go, okay, here, I'm going to throw a test at you, or here, I'm going to just throw a bunch of supplements at you, or here, I'm just going to throw a medication at you. It needs to start with an interactive plan that the person can follow while they're in their doing their regular life. And then it causes them to change habits. And when you change habits, all of a sudden your life starts to build on those habits. And that is the most coolest thing you can see.
Yeah.
So you're not going from 0 to 100. You're actually taking baby steps and kind of getting there. So I know I covered a lot of information in there, but
that
that's
last
kind of
part,
what I do.
That was the biggest part. That was one of the reasons why I liked working with you in the Shape Reclaim program, because I thought that, because I had cut out so many things, I thought I was doing the right thing. I was looking for all the things that they said were bad and like cut out dairy, all these other things. But I was amazed at how much I was able to add back and start to feel better. I was able to add things back to my diet and I felt better. And it's more so listening to your body and understanding like what is happening to your body when you eat these foods. And I remember one time you said it so simply. You were like, there was something that I added back to my diet and I was like, well, I feel this way. And you were like, don't eat that then. Like, it was just like, if your body is telling you something, then pay attention to that, because your body more than likely doesn't like what you're giving it. So just listen to that. And so that was one of the things that I took away. And even to this day, like I'll eat something, my husband, he's like, I'm like super sensitive now to like how I respond to foods. And I'm like, oh no, like my body like doesn't like that. So I don't want to eat that anymore. But I pay attention to that.
So that's the whole point. It's kind of like letting your body lead you instead of going, even food sensitivity test. I do that as well. But honestly, I would rather the person kind of go through that elimination program and then add things back in and really listen and be intuitive about their own bodies, because food sensitivity tests are cool. People love them, but here's the problem with them. They're only good 3 to 9 months. And a lot of practitioners do not tell the patient. So they have taken an apple out for several years and they're like, oh, I had this food sensitivity test back in the day. And if it is a delayed food sensitivity test, you're supposed to add that food back in. A lot of people just go by that, never change. And I'm like, no. God put all of our food here, right? That's healthy. And we want to be able to incorporate those foods into our diet. So we don't want to get into, I don't like extreme, where you're extremely taking things completely out forever and ever. Right. We aren't designed to do that. We are designed to just say, okay, everything in moderation, and listen to our bodies. And if our bodies say, hey, maybe that's not good for me right now, take it out again for a little time and then try to reintroduce it, especially if it's a healthy food. If it's not a healthy food, I mean, you can try to use it on occasion, just don't use it every single day.
Like, and would bread fall into that category? Is something
that
bread.
I love bread. I'm there. Bread is I love bread. But that being said, if I ate bread like every single day, I wouldn't be able to, I probably wouldn't be able to walk around on the beach. I mean, it wouldn't be happening. So, but I love to have bread when I have like, when I want to eat it, I want to kind of use it and get some really good bread that I enjoy. Now, some people cannot have bread at all. Some people actually have a gluten sensitivity and they should never have bread. So that's one of the things that I check for, because if that is something you need to know, so you can totally eradicate that, because that's linked to a lot of other serious conditions. So that's bread. I mean, if you look at the 3 main things, you look at bread, you look at sugar. Sugar is another thing. We are so focused in our society on sugar, especially going through like, drive-throughs and getting those, frate, latte, all
Mhm.
that stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, so it's just one of those things you don't realize how much sugar we're ingesting every single day. So sugar is inflammatory. So you have to kind of go, okay, you know what, if you're eating too much of something, you got to cut back on that as well. And that's what Shape does. It helps take away those inflammatory things and then slowly give you a lot of good food. You're not limited on your food, but give you food that you can slowly add back in some of the inflammatory things to see if your body actually has a reaction to it
Mhm.
from that standpoint. And I think, we are set up, like I said, everything quick, quick, quick. But sometimes it takes a little time and a
Mhm.
little effort, but it's going to last a lifetime. And that's how Shape is set up. It's kind of like phase one is, you're going into the program. Phase two, you're stabilizing. And phase three is your future healthy lifestyle. That's what you're in because
Mhm.
you're really paying more attention to what you can do and what you shouldn't do. And that makes a big difference going forward with
Right.
that, which is awesome.
Yeah. There's somebody who right now they're struggling with not having enough energy. They're trying to focus. They've got like their main job, they've got their side business, they've got their family, all these things that they're trying to juggle, but they don't have
Yes.
energy. It sounds like your recommendation would be to start with kind of understanding where your body is right now. Like, what is your body deficient in,
Yeah.
and starting to
Yeah.
feel.
Check your major, like we do blood testing, like checking the full thyroid, not just the TSH, checking the whole thyroid. I think that's so important
Mhm.
because your TSH may be fine, but then you go, I don't feel that great. What is going on? I'm just not 100%. And it could be because you're not converting the TSH. So that's why we look at the whole thyroid panel, not just TSH. Looking at your, like I said, nutrient levels, finding out, are there deficiencies going on that are affecting your energy level? Looking at sleep. I also do neurotransmitter testing. So I
Mhm.
check serotonin, dopamine, all the levels that kind of keep you happy and keep you where you can rest
Mhm.
and balance those back out. And then again, if someone comes in and they're talking about their GI, they're talking about, I'm just not doing, right, I'm not regular or I'm too regular, something's going on, I'm having too much poo. That can
Mhm.
happen as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at that and going, okay, well, we have to fix that, right? We got to get that in order because if that's out of order, your neurotransmitters are going to be out of order. You're not going to be absorbing your nutrients the way you need to. And then the other organ systems get out of balance. So it's just a nice approach to health. And I focus on these approaches because when I was 33, I was diagnosed with a breast cancer and they only gave me a 45% chance of survival. And that was 25 years ago now.
Wow.
So 2 years of chemo, 46
Yeah.
radiation treatments. I lost all my hair. I was so sick. But going through that, I realized that, okay, why? Why are these things
Mhm.
happening? And
Mhm.
what's going on in our environment that can be affecting this? So that's what really pulled me into this. And I've been doing it now for 20 years. So, or even a little bit, yeah, since 2008. So it's been a
Yeah.
while.
I've heard a lot of, like, recently, there have been a lot of cases of cancer diagnosis in,
Yes.
especially in younger women. And so, as far as prevention, I know there's no like cut and dry, some things are just genetics, but as far as prevention, what is like one thing that you would recommend?
I would say I also do this too. I check for glyphosate, things that we may be consuming that's in our oats that we don't realize. You're drinking it every day or you're eating it. It's in a lot of our food supply. Now, if someone methylates properly, which means they can get things out of the body, it may not affect that person. But if
Mhm.
someone doesn't, then it could cause more of an issue.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like making sure that your body, you have to think about your body as your ancestors. When you think about your great grandparents, they weren't exposed to all the stuff we're exposed to now.
Mhm.
And so even I get kind of very picky about people using air fresheners in their house. Those things that we smell all the time they go through our olfactory system. And then our liver has to detox that. So you add that. And then let's say you're having a glass of wine per night, right? Which is typically a health thing, but then you're dealing with the sulfites in the wine and the air freshener. And then you're in a room full of cleaning products and you're just cleaning and scrubbing with the little bubble guys. It's like your system can't handle all of that.
Mhm.
So try to simplify your life as much as you can. Like, use things that are more health conscious, not as many chemicals. I
Right.
mean, even certain multivitamins that everyone's taking, if you look at the actual ingredients, there's a bunch of junk in there that you shouldn't have to try, process every day. And they're like main multivitamins. So you want to make sure what you're taking is very simple. That's the easiest thing I can say,
Yeah.
is keep it simple. And if you use air freshener, switch it out to something like, your little essential oils or something like that. Get things that don't have the chemicals. Even dryer sheets are full of chemicals, and you can get those wool balls that'll save you money. You order them off of Amazon, they work just as well. And you put a little essential oil on those, throw them in the dryer, and they last for like 2,000 loads, and you don't have to buy the dryer sheets anymore. So, but these are things that you're not having to touch all the time. And I'm not saying live in a bubble. I don't live in a bubble, but I just know certain things affect certain people, and you don't know, if you're that person, you might want to just be a little more cautious about surrounding yourself with a bunch of chemicals. There was a documentary called, I think it was called Breast Health. And there was a man who was a perfume salesman, and he walked around all day. It was a documentary smelling perfume. Well, he grew breast tissue. They had to go in and actually,
Wow.
yeah, because the perfume was affecting his endocrine system. It
Mm.
was a hormone disruptor. And if you look up laundry detergent, you could Google it right now, laundry detergent hormone disruptor, and it'll say laundry detergents are hormone disruptors. Now, who knows that? Certain chemicals in it, right? And it smells good, but we need to keep it simple. That's the biggest thing I can tell. Lotions, the same thing. Keep your lotions as simple as possible. Like, don't use any with tons of ingredients on there. Keep it as simple, one or two ingredients, and just use that, because you think about it, your skin's your largest organ. You're rubbing your body with it, and then it has to take it all in, and it has to process it. Now, many people will not have a problem with that, but like I said, there's some people that can have issues, and you got to watch out. And it just makes it more simple. Like, think about how your ancestors lived and try to replicate that from the standpoint of chemicals. And that's my biggest advice for people, because I really feel like that's a huge thing. Being hydrated, also keeping your pH, like I was talking about. That's why I use those little sachets. I keep them on my website. It's under theoliveleaf.com. And they're just little sachets that actually go in your water. They alkalize your water. They put 70 trace minerals in your water, which are lacking from our food. You can blow up a Diet Coke with them, because a Diet Coke's 1.5 on an acidity scale. You can tear it open and it'll explode it. You can drop it down your sink. I dropped one down my sink with a butter bean, and a butter bean sprout grew out of my sink. It's so crazy because of the trace
The
minerals. So
minerals.
if you get the minerals, you get the hydration, you kind of keep keep check on certain chemicals. If you're using them all the time, change out your certain things. It doesn't have to be difficult. Just simple things can make a big difference in your life, especially if you don't know why you're not feeling well. Start taking inventory of your house and just say, you know what, maybe I need to clear out some things that could be affecting me. That's all you have to do. You could clear it out, and you'll be like, my goodness, you know what, I feel better. I don't have headaches anymore. It could have been something you have like stuck in the wall that you don't even know could be causing.
Right. And it really goes back to what you were saying about just awareness, being a little, you don't have to live in a bubble, but just
No,
be aware, like be mindful of what it is that you have in your surroundings. If you have something that has a ton of chemicals, maybe that's one thing that you can cut out, but it's not
yeah,
about being like living this rigid, like I
no,
can't do anything out of life. It's just understanding that there are certain things that can expose you to things that are harmful to
exactly.
yourself. Yeah.
And that opens you up so you can kind of enjoy other things too, right? So if you're not totally saturated with just a bunch of chemicals, it's like your eating may not have to be perfect, because people cannot live that way either, because then you end up under bondage. You want to go out, you want to enjoy yourself with friends, and the Lord did not design us to live in bondage under
Right.
anything. And
Right.
so he just wants us to be in moderation, like
Right.
moderation. Too much of one thing may be too much. So just back off a little bit, replace it with something else for a while, see if that changes, how you're feeling. And you'll know, because your body will let you know quickly. Like, it'll
Right.
be like, wow, I use this candle in my house, and when I have headaches all the time, right? You take the candle out, and then you're like, my goodness, headaches are gone. I don't have them anymore. Could be something
Mhm.
so simple,
Mhm.
simple. So that's what I do with patients as well. I kind of go through, take inventory and make sure there's nothing that they're chemically exposed to. I did have a lady, 27-year-old girl, came to see me, horrible. They diagnosed her with RA because she was in so much pain. And she's
27.
27. And we found out her apartment water was actually full of thallium. It was coming through the water, and she got out of her apartment. She's fine now.
Mhm.
Everything's cleared up. She's no longer in pain. RA miraculously disappeared. That doesn't happen.
Wow.
So you see, it can be just something really simple. And that's kind of what I do too, is kind of help a person identify, is there something? Is there something they need to watch out for
Mhm.
that they could remove if they need to from there?
So for anyone who wants to get in touch with you, how do they
Yeah.
contact you?
They can go directly to theoliveleaf.com. So it's THE and then olive, like an olive, and then leaf, like a leaf, .com. And you can go on, and actually, if you have a question for me, there's a 15-minute free consult that I offer. So I can talk to you about your specific health condition and see if it's something that, I can help with. And, or if you just need to ask me a general question, I have no problem with getting on the phone for that and just helping someone.
Well, I know I have moved clear across the country and I don't get to see you as often as I used to, but I still claim you as my nutritionist. I still say
Amen.
my nutritionist when I'm talking about you. Um,
Awesome.
but thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time to share more about just how to take better care of our health.
Yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And I so enjoyed this.
Hey, Janae here. Did you love that conversation? Me too. If you want to hear more fruitful conversations, sign up for emails at flourishinglane.com for details on upcoming sessions. More fruitful conversations to come.